Welcome to Ryan's Running Reviews, and today we have a special video because it's a brand new shoe from a brand new company. Now this new company is called Mount to Coast, and they're kind of geared towards the Ultramarathon and the Ultrarunner. And then the R1, the shoe we're taking a look at today, is their race day shoe for the Ultramarathon. So a fairly specialized subset of the running community, but I'm excited to talk about it. Before we get started, I do want to say that these shoes were provided to me by Mount to Coast. However, no one had a chance to preview this video, and this small synopsis is my own. I'd also like to say please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. Here we go. This is the R1, and it does have a couple tricks up its sleeve. It's designed to be an ultramarathon road racing shoe. In some of their promotional materials, they talked about how one of their athletes used just one of these shoes for over 800 miles across 18 days to set a bunch of records as kind of a proof of concept. So they're kind of going after that market. Now, me personally, I am not an ultra runner, haven't done an ultra marathon. And for me, I'm going to grade this primarily as like a long run or just regular daily training shoe. As they said, this could work for that as well. And honestly, for this being their first shoe, I'm quite impressed. Everything from just the looks of it, which I think really kind of caught people's attention, to how it performs. Now, it's not perfect. There's some things I would definitely change, but I think for their first shoe, it's definitely a winner. As far as the stats go, this shoe costs $160, which sits kind of between the regular daily trainers and the super trainers. And honestly, I was kind of shocked. I would expect it to cost more just because it's coming from a newer and smaller company. So kind of take that for what you will, but it costs $160. Now, it only weighs 8.5 ounces, which I think is pretty good. It's not super light and it's not heavy. I think kind of nestles into that middle ground area. And then as far as stack height goes, I was actually expecting it to have more, but it has 35 in the heel and 27 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. You would think because it's an ultramarathon shoe, they would go all the way to like maybe the 40mm limit, but they stuck with 35. The upper is a very robust engineered mesh. I thought the breathability was solid. The back part of the shoe has a very stiff and rigid heel counter with a moderate amount of padding in the ankle and Achilles section. As far as the fit goes, it is true to size, and I love the fact that they gave us a wide toe box. It's almost Topo or Ultra like. The fact that you can splay your toes out is wonderful, and I really enjoy that on my running shoes, so I'm happy to see they added it here. Now, speaking of lockdown, this is where things I think start to get interesting. We have two separate lacing systems. There's one for the bottom half and one for the top half. The top half of the lacing system is a more traditional kind of flat lace, and then the bottom half is this circular rope or lace that can be pulled and then has a little clasp mechanism that allows you to adjust it on the go. And that's basically why they did this. They want you to be able to customize the fit when you're running and not have to stop and do strange things with your laces. And for me, I think this actually works. I'm surprised more companies don't do this, and I hope other companies do implement this because for me, it worked quite well. If I wanted to relieve some pressure in a certain area, I just would either untie the top or adjust the mechanism towards the bottom. I think it was quite effective to get that customized fit. Now, I will say there was one kind of annoying area about the upper. While I was really happy with it all, I thought the lockdown was solid, especially because the heel counter was so stiff and the wide toe box was very comfortable. I just thought the experience was quite good on the whole. The fact that you had this seam down the middle on both the lateral and medial side felt strange. It didn't really hurt, didn't create any blisters, and I think that's mainly because I use pretty good running socks, but you really do feel the seam on both, again, the medial and lateral side of where the two sections of the upper meet. I'm not really sure why they did this because it's connected. It's not like they operate in an independent manner, even though you have those two lacing systems. It just feels like there's this kind of just bulge across the middle of the upper. Again, didn't really create a major pain for me or didn't create any blisters. It just felt rather strange, and when you get a ton of miles in and you just kind of get into that rhythm, it starts to disappear. But I did notice it every time I put my foot in this shoe. You kind of feel that seam across the midfoot. So I could see that potentially being an issue for people, especially if you have a wider foot and really press against that seam. When you get a lot more miles into it, it could potentially cause some pain, but for me personally, it didn't. It just was kind of just a strange, noticeable sensation. And now for the midsole, this also has a trick up its sleeve. Most of the foam is going to be what they call light cell. It's a supercritical nitrogen-infused PEBA compound. However, we have another type of foam, which they call zero sag. It's a special shaped insert. I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, according to the Mount to Coast, this material is the same kind they use in some race car suspension systems. I'm not sure how that quite works, but Based on my best guess, it's a bit more dense, and it's supposed to give you some more stability and rigidity to the midsole to help you when you get into those longer miles and keeps your form from breaking down. It's the same shape as this black material on the outsole, so it kind of gives you a better idea. Now, the midsole is fairly bendable and flexible. It's not super easy to move around, so it does a good job moving with your foot, but there is a little bit of pushback, which helps give you some stability, and you have a fairly wide outsole with some flat-waisted geometry, which I think does give you a decently stable ride. And then if we go to the bottom of the shoe, we have a full-length polyurethane outsole. And each of the individual lugs in this traction pattern is actually the Mount to Coast logo, which is kind of a cool touch. Now, this is a very thin outsole, and in the poster that they sent me, I actually would love to see the bottom of this shoe with a demo pair of shoes for their runner that ran over 800 miles for the record-breaking run. I would love to see what the outsole looks like, but they don't show that. And I'm a little bit concerned with how long it lasts, but I will say I think the grip was good. It really did hug the ground. They're actually coming out with a rubber outsole version as well for wet weather. They're calling that the R1R, so be on the lookout for that. But for me personally, didn't really have an issue with the grip. I actually thought it was really aggressive, more aggressive compared to a rubber outsole, at least with regard to how it gripped the ground. It is fairly smooth, but I think because it's a softer material, it really does kind of hug into the ground, almost kind of like a race car tire. Again, my only major concern is the durability, but we'll see how that holds up over the long run. So how does this midsole perform? Well, I'm quite impressed with Mount to Coast's first ever running shoe. It's fairly responsive, not overly soft, and delivers a very smooth, pleasant ride. Almost feels like an elevated, more energetic and fun Brooks Glycerin 21. I thought this was fairly versatile as well. Works as like a solid, moderately cushioned daily trainer at like 35 millimeters. I feel like most brands are kind of pushing the 40 to 45 millimeter mark. And for me, honestly, I think this is a solid winner. Fairly light at 8.5 ounces. And the one, again, minor gripe I have is kind of the seam across the midfoot. Not really sure why they did that, but I do love the wide toe box and customized lacing. The outsole grip was good, but the durability could be questionable just because of how thin it is. And I think, again, for Mount to Coast to put this out as their first shoe, I think they did a great job. At least for me, how I'll use it is just kind of a more versatile, moderately cushioned training option. So let me know in the comments what you think of the R1. I think it looks pretty cool too from an aesthetic standpoint. Got some comments of people saying the shoe just looks awesome. And so if you want to pick it up for walking or just casual wear, you can definitely do that as well. Well, I'm Ryan from Ryan's Running Reviews, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.